Adanna lived in a small village by the river, surrounded by thick green forests. She was known throughout the town not because of her laughter that was as bright as the sun or her kindness that warmed everyone around her, but because of her appearance. Adanna was born with a big curvy figure that made people turn and look whenever she walked by. Hello everyone, my name is Adugo and you're watching the African Tales channel by Adugo. Before we dive into today's video, please kindly click on that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you will be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, let's get into the story. Adanna lived in a small village by the river, surrounded by thick green forests. She was known throughout the town not because of her laughter that was as bright as the sun or her kindness that warmed everyone around her, but because of her appearance. Adanna was born with a big curvy figure that made people turn and look whenever she walked by. Men whispered when they saw her, and even some women would frown in envy. But Adanna wasn't bothered by the attention or the whispers. She was proud of herself, confident in her heart and always kind to others. Every day, she walked to the river to fetch water for her family, humming as she balanced the clay pot on her head. But little did she know that today would be different from any other day. As she was walking back from the river, she noticed something strange. A man was watching her from behind a large tree. His face was hidden in the shadows, but Adanna could feel his eyes following her every move. A chill ran down her spine. She gripped the pot tighter, quickening her pace. When she got home, she couldn't shake the feeling. Who was that man, and why was he watching her? That night, Adanna lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her heart racing with questions and fear. The next morning, Adanna decided not to let fear control her. She was strong, and her family needed to be brave. As usual, she went to the river with her clay pots. She walked with confidence, her head held high, pretending she wasn't afraid. But the man was there again, hiding behind the same tree. This time, he wasn't alone. Two other men stood with him, their eyes dark and strange. Adanna froze. Her heart pounded, but she forced herself to act like she didn't see them. She calmly filled her pot, keeping her eyes on the water. But when she turned to leave, the three men stepped out from behind the tree, blocking her path. "Adanna," one of them said with a strange smile, "we've been waiting for you." Adanna took a step back, her hand gripping the pot so tightly her knuckles turned white. She didn't know these men. They looked like strangers, their eyes filled with something she couldn't understand. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice steady, though fear was growing in her heart. The man smiled again. "Oh, don't worry, Adanna. We just want to talk. You're famous in this village, you know. Everybody talks about you." Adanna tried to walk around them, but the men blocked her path again. She felt trapped, but her mind was racing. If she screamed, someone might hear her. But before she could open her mouth, the tallest man reached out and grabbed her arm. His fingers were rough and cold. Adanna's heart raced, but she kept her face calm. She looked the man in the eyes and said, "If you don't let me go, you will regret it. My father is a strong man and he will come looking for me." The men laughed, the sound echoing through the trees. "Your father is far away, Adanna. He can't help you now." But just as the men were about to drag her away, a loud voice shouted from the other side of the river. It was Okeke, the old fisherman who lived by the river bank. "Leave that girl alone," he yelled, raising his fishing net like a weapon. The men hesitated and Adanna seized the moment. She yanked her arm free and ran as fast as she could, her feet pounding against the dirt path. When she finally reached her village, she was out of breath, her heart racing with a mix of fear and relief. But as she looked around, she realized something strange. Nobody in the village seemed to know who the men were or why they wanted to harm her. Her father listened quietly as she told her story, his face serious. "This is not something to ignore, Adanna," he said, his voice heavy with worry. "These men, they sound dangerous. You must be careful, my daughter." Adanna nodded, but deep inside, she felt a spark of determination. She didn't want to live in fear. She wanted to know why those men had targeted her, and she was ready to find out no matter the cost. Adanna couldn't sleep that night. The men's faces kept appearing in her mind, and the questions kept piling up. Why were they watching her? Why did they block her path? She decided that the next time she went to the river, she would be prepared. She wasn't going to let fear stop her from finding answers. But little did Adanna know that the journey she was about to embark on would change her life forever. The next morning, Adanna's heart was heavy, but she didn't let fear show on her face. She gathered her things and prepared to go to the river, determined to find out what the strange men wanted. But this time, her father noticed her tense expression and stopped her by the doorway. "Adanna," he said gently, "I know you're brave, but those men, I feel something dark about them. Take this," he added, handing her a small carved wooden charm. "It's a protection amulet from my mother. Keep it close to your heart and no harm will come to you." Adanna accepted the amulet and tucked it into the folds of her wrapper. She hugged her father tightly before setting off, his worried face lingering in her mind as she walked the winding path to the river. When she reached the river bank, everything seemed quiet. She filled her pot and turned to leave, but then she saw them. The three men stood across the river, their eyes fixed on her. This time, however, they weren't alone. Beside them was a fourth figure, cloaked in black, with a hood that hid his face. The new figure raised a hand, and instantly, the world around Adanna felt colder. The birds stopped singing, and the trees seemed to bend away from the figure, as if in fear. "Adanna!" The cloaked figure called out in a voice that was neither loud nor soft. Yet, it seemed to echo through her entire body. "We come in peace. We simply want to talk." Adanna's pulse quickened. She knew in her heart that these men weren't friendly, but something about that cloaked man's voice made her pause. "What do you want?" she demanded, her voice steady but her fingers gripping the amulet under her wrapper. The cloaked figure took a step forward, his eyes hidden beneath his hood. "It's simple, Adanna. You're special, more special than you realize. The energy you carry, the power within you, is something rare." Adanna frowned, confused. "I don't have any special power," she replied, her voice barely more than a whisper. "I am just me." The cloaked man chuckled softly, and the sound sent shivers down her spine. "Oh, you have no idea," he said, his voice dripping with mystery. "The reason people are drawn to you, the reason they talk about you, isn't just your appearance, Adanna. You carry something ancient, something that even the earth and skies respect." Adanna's heart pounded. She had heard tales of magic and hidden powers, but they were just stories, weren't they? Her father's words echoed in her mind. "No harm will come to you." She clutched the amulet tighter, feeling a surge of warmth spread through her chest, steadying her nerves. "What do you want with me?" she asked, her voice stronger. "We want to help you unlock your power," the cloaked man said. "We are protectors of ancient secrets, and we believe you can be of great use to us." Adanna's instinct screamed at her to turn and run, but there was a part of her, a small part, that wanted to understand. She didn't know why these men seemed so fascinated with her, and the thought of discovering her own hidden power was tempting. "Tell me one thing first," Adanna said, her voice firm. "Why should I trust you?" The cloaked man paused, as if considering her question. Then, without a word, he reached into the folds of his cloak and pulled out something small and gleaming. He tossed it across the river and it landed at her feet. It was a tiny, delicate necklace, the pendant shaped like a swelling flame. Adanna recognized it instantly. It had belonged to her late mother. She had lost it years ago and thought it was gone forever. How? How did you get this? She whispered, picking it up with trembling fingers. We know more about you than you realize, Adanna, the man replied, his voice soft but intense. We've been watching over you for a long time. All we want is to help you understand your own power. Adanna's mind raced, her emotions swelling like a storm. She missed her mother deeply, and the sight of the pendant filled her with memories of warmth, love and safety. But she didn't trust these men, no matter how gentle their words seemed. She took a deep breath, her mind made up. I don't need your help, she said firmly, slipping the pendant into her pocket and clutching her amulet once more. My family has always protected me. I'll find my way. Without waiting for a response, she turned and walked back towards her village. But as she walked, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed, that the power they spoke of was stirring within her, waiting to be discovered. And little did Adanna know, her journey had only just begun. That night, Adanna lay awake, her mind swelling with questions. The pendant from her mother sat beside her, gleaming faintly in the moonlight. She ran her fingers over its smooth surface, feeling the warmth and love her mother had once given her. But there was something else too, a strange tingling sensation, as if the pendant itself held a hidden energy. Just then, she heard a faint tapping at her window. She sat up quickly, her heart pounding, and peered through the darkness. A shadowy figure stood just outside, hidden in the shadows. Adanna's hand flew to her chest, clutching the amulet her father had given her, and she felt a surge of courage flood her veins. Adanna, the voice whispered. It was gentle, almost soothing, but she could feel the power behind it. Adanna, please come outside, I need to speak with you. Adanna felt torn. A part of her wanted to ignore the voice, but another part felt drawn to it. She took a deep breath, glanced at the pendant once more, and slowly made her way to the door. Outside, she was greeted by an unexpected sight. A young girl, not much older than herself, stood in the shadows, her eyes filled with kindness and warmth. My name is Chinyere, the girl said, her voice soft but strong. I am like you, Adanna. I too was once drawn to those men by the river. Adanna's eyes widened. You know them? Who are they? Why did they say I had the power? Chinyere nodded solemnly. Those men are seekers of ancient power. They go from village to village finding people who have gifts they cannot understand. They say they want to help, but in truth, they only wish to control us. Adanna's stomach twisted as Chinyere's words settled in. So, you have powers too? Chinyere smiled gently. Yes, but I had to discover them on my own. I had to fight to keep my gift safe from those who would use them for their own purposes. Adanna, you must be careful. Your gift is special, even more powerful than mine. Adanna glanced down at the pendant in her hand. But I don't even know what my gift is. Chinyere placed a hand on Adanna's shoulder. Your power comes from the earth and the ancestors. Your mother knew this, and that's why she left this pendant behind. To protect you until you were ready. But now is the time to discover it for yourself. Just as Adanna was about to ask more, a sudden rustling sound came from the nearby bushes. Both girls turned, their hearts racing, as the three men from the river appeared, stepping into the moonlight. This time, their faces held none of the warmth or gentleness they had shown before. Their eyes were cold, calculating. Chinyere, the cloaked man said, his voice icy. You should not have interfered. Chinyere stood tall, shielding Adanna behind her. Leave her alone, she commanded. She is not yours to control." The man smirked, raising his hand in a silent signal. Instantly, the other two men moved forward, surrounding the girls on all sides. "Adanna must come with us," he said coldly. "It is her destiny." Adanna then felt a surge of anger and fear rise within her. She clenched her fist, feeling a strange energy coursing through her veins. The pendant around her neck began to grow warm, and she realized that it was reacting to her emotions. "No," Adanna said, her voice trembling but determined. "I don't belong to you. I will never go with you." As she spoke, a faint glow appeared around her, like a soft golden light, illuminating her in the darkness. The men took a step back, their eyes widening in surprise. Chinyere gasped, her face filled with awe. "Adanna," she whispered, "that's your power. You are awakening it." Adanna's heart raced as the warmth from the pendant spread through her body, filling her with courage and strength she had never felt before. She raised her hand, and to her amazement, the golden light grew brighter, pushing back against the men. "Leave us!" she shouted, her voice echoing through the night. The light surged forward like a powerful wave, and the men stumbled back, fear flickering in their eyes. The cloaked man glared at her, his face twisted in anger. "This isn't over, Adanna," he spat, his voice dripping with hatred. "You can't hide from your destiny forever." With that, he turned and vanished into the darkness, his followers trailing behind him. As the night fell silent once more, Adanna felt the light around her slowly fade, leaving her feeling both exhilarated and exhausted. Chinyere turned to her face filled with pride and relief. "You did it, Adanna. You stood up to them." Adanna nodded, her mind spinning with questions. "But what now? They said they'll be back. I don't even understand what this power is." Chinyere took her hand, squeezing it gently. "There is still much to learn, but you are not alone. I'll help you understand your gifts, and together we will protect each other from those who seek to use it." In that moment, Adanna felt a new sense of hope and determination. She didn't know what the future held, but with Chinyere by her side, she knew she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As dawn broke over the village, Adanna and Chinyere walked quietly along the river, away from prying eyes. The events of the previous night had left Adanna with countless questions, and she knew it was time to seek the answers. "Chinyere," Adanna began, her voice soft. "What is this power? Why do they want it so much?" Chinyere gazed out over the water, her expression thoughtful. "Your power is like the river, Adanna. Natural, deep and ancient. It flows from the ancestors and connects you to the spirit of the land. Those men seek it because they've lost their own connection to the earth and its wisdom. They want to take from others what they can't create themselves." Adanna frowned, trying to understand. "But I don't know how to use it. It just happens." Chinyere nodded. "That's how it begins, but in time you will learn to control it, to use it for good. There is a place, deep in the forest, where I learned to understand my own gifts. I think it's time I take you there." Adanna's heart skipped a beat. She had heard stories about the forest. The elder spoke of it with a mixture of awe and fear, saying it held secrets beyond ordinary human understanding. But she trusted Chinyere, and deep down, she felt an urge to understand the gift within her. They set off, walking silently through the forest's winding paths. The air grew cooler and the trees thicker as they ventured further. Soon, they arrived at a clearing, where a small circle of stones surrounded an ancient tree with a trunk as wide as a house. Its branches stretched high, reaching towards the heavens, and its roots twisted through the earth like the veins of a living being. "Sit here," Chinyere instructed, motioning to the ground beneath the tree. "Close your eyes and focus on the pendant. Let yourself feel its energy." Adanna settled onto the soft ground, her heart beat steady but excited. She clutched her mother's pendant, closed her eyes, and breathed deeply. The forest felt alive around her. The whisper of leaves, the soft rustling of animals, and the gentle hum of something deep within the earth. Gradually, she felt a warmth spread through her body, starting from the pendant and flowing outward. She focused on that warmth, letting it fill her completely, until it seemed to pulse in time with her heartbeat. Then, without warning, a vision appeared in her mind. She saw a river, bright and sparkling, flowing under a clear blue sky. The water danced with light, and in its reflection, she saw herself, not as she was, but older, stronger, with a calm power in her eyes. She looked down and saw her mother's pendant glowing with the same golden light that had surrounded her the night before. Suddenly, the river darkened, and a shadow appeared in the water. The reflection of the cloaked man stared back at her, his face twisted with anger. "You can't escape me, Adanna," he sneered. "You may be powerful, but you are not invisible." The vision broke, and Adanna gasped, her eyes flying open. Her heart pounded and her body was trembling, her eyes wide with concern. Adanna struggled to find the words. It was him, Chinyere, the cloaked man. "He knows I am here. I think he's watching me, even now." Chinyere's face grew serious. "Then he's closer than I thought. We must be cautious." Adanna nodded, but a part of her felt stronger, more determined. "I don't want to keep running, Chinyere. I want to understand my power, to face him and protect my family." Chinyere took her hand, squeezing it tightly. "Then we will prepare, but you must understand, Adanna, that to fight him, you will need more than just your gifts. You will need to connect with the spirit to ask for guidance." Adanna's eyes widened. She had heard of spirit guides in stories, but they seemed like something only the elders could communicate with. Can I really do that?" she asked, her voice filled with a mix of awe and doubt. Chinyere smiled gently. "You already have, Adanna. Your mother's spirit is with you, watching over you through the pendant. The ancestors are guiding you. All you need to do is listen." With Chinyere's guidance, Adanna spent the following days in the forest, learning to quiet her mind and focus on the energy within her. Slowly, she began to understand the rhythm of her own power, sensing its connection to the earth, the trees, and even the sky. One evening, as they sat around a small fire, Chinyere turned to Adanna, her face solemn. "Tomorrow is the day," she said. "I can feel him drawing closer. If you are ready, we will confront him." Adanna nodded, her heart steady but fierce. She was ready to face whatever awaited her, to stand up for herself, her family, and her gifts. The next morning, Adanna and Chinyere made their way back to the river, where they knew the cloaked man and his followers would be waiting. The air was thick with tension, and even the birds had fallen silent as if sensing the impending clash. Sure enough, the cloaked man was there, flanked by his two followers. His gaze settled on Adanna, a twisted smile spreading across his face. "So you finally come to your senses," he sneered. "You will join us now?" Adanna took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of her pendant and the strength of her ancestors within her. "No," she said firmly, her voice ringing through the still air. "I have come to end this." The cloaked man laughed, a cold, mocking sound that sent chills down her spine. "End this? Foolish girl, you don't know what you're dealing with." But before he could say another word, Adanna felt her power surge, stronger than ever. She raised her hand, and a brilliant golden light poured from her, pushing back against the dark energy the cloaked man wielded. His expression changed from small confidence to surprise, and then fear. You? You are stronger than I thought," he hissed, his face twisted with rage. "But strength alone won't be enough." He lifted his arms, and shadows gathered around him like swirling mist. They crept forward, tendrils of darkness reaching towards Adanna, threatening to engulf her. But Adanna held her ground, focusing on the light within her, the warmth of her mother's pendant and the presence of Chinyere by her side. She could feel the power of the earth beneath her feet, grounding her, giving her strength. With a final surge of determination, she raised her hand and unleashed a wave of light that shattered the shadows, illuminating the entire riverbank. The cloaked man screamed as the light engulfed him, his form dissolving into nothingness. When the light faded, there was nothing left of the cloaked man or his followers. Adanna felt a wave of exhaustion wash over her, but she also felt a deep sense of peace. Chinyere stepped forward, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You did it, Adanna. You freed yourself." Adanna smiled, tears filling her eyes. She knew the journey wasn't over, that there would be still challenges ahead. But for the first time, she felt truly connected to her family, to her ancestors, and to the power within her. As they walked back to the village together, Adanna felt a new strength within her heart. She was ready to face whatever the future held. The weeks following the confrontation at the river were filled with peace and quiet. The dark presence that had haunted Adanna's steps was gone, and she could feel the difference in her soul. She continued to train with Chinyere, not to prepare for battle, but to understand her gifts. She wanted to use her power for healing, growth and harmony in her community, not for fighting or fear. One day, as they practiced under the shade of the great forest tree, an elderly woman from the village approached them. She held her hand over her heart, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Adanna," she began, her voice trembling with emotion. "Since the night you drove those men away, the village has felt different, lighter. You have given us peace, my child. But you must understand that your gift is a blessing not just for you, but for us all." Adanna nodded, feeling both honored and humbled. She had never thought of herself as special. She was just a girl growing up and learning in the same village where she had spent her whole life. But now she understood that her power wasn't just for her. It was a bond linking her to her family and friends, and her village. She was part of something greater, a legacy that flowed from her ancestors to her and on to future generations. Over the next months, Adanna used her gift to help her people. She healed the wounded, brought vitality to the crops, and used her energy to bless the village before planting season. With Chinyere by her side, she continued learning and growing, dedicating herself to bringing harmony to her village. But even as she found purpose in her gifts, she never forgot the struggle and darkness she had faced. She knew that power could be used for good or ill, and that it was her responsibility to remain humble, wise and connected to the earth and her ancestors. One quiet evening, she sat with her father by the fire, feeling his comforting presence beside her. "My daughter," he said, looking at her with deep pride, "your mother would be so proud of the person you've become. Remember, true strength doesn't come from power alone, but from the heart and from wisdom." Adanna smiled, nodding as she understood his words in a way she hadn't before. And so, Adanna grew to become not only a guardian of her village, but also a symbol of strength, humility and love. Her story became a tale passed down to generations, a reminder of the powerful lessons she had learned along the way. Moral lessons from Adanna's story. 1. Embrace your unique gifts. Adanna learned that her power was a part of who she was and could be used to help others. Just like her, each person has unique gifts, and recognizing and embracing them is a way to make a difference in the world. 2. Strength is rooted in wisdom and kindness. While Adanna was strong, her true power came from her desire to protect and heal. not to harm. Real strength is about using one's abilities responsibly and for the good of others. 3. Courage overcomes fear. Adanna was afraid of the men and the darkness they represented, but her courage helped her face them. Facing our fears is often the first step to overcoming obstacles and discovering our inner strength. 4. Stay connected to your roots and heritage. Adanna's journey was deeply connected to her ancestors and the wisdom they passed down. Knowing our heritage and being rooted in our values helps guide us through challenges and grounds us in difficult times. 5. Power and responsibility go hand in hand. Adanna's journey showed her that having a gift means using it wisely and responsibly. With every special talent or power comes with the responsibility to use it for good and be mindful of how it affects others. In the end, Adanna's stories reminds us that true strength is not just about what we can do, but about who we are, how we serve others, and how we honor the legacies we carry forward. We have come to the end of the story. If you love this video, please kindly share with your loved ones, leave us a comment on your opinion, and subscribe for another interesting video like this. Until I see you all on the next one. Bye for now.